All right, if you're a B4X developer, you know the struggle. Getting those UI components to look perfect can be a real headache. Well, today, we're going to dive into a custom component called B4XDaisyProgress. It promises to give us modern, beautiful progress bars with way less effort. So let's see how it actually works. I mean, we've all been that, right? You're building this awesome, sleek, modern app, and then you hit the progress bar. Getting that one little element to look just right, responsive, theme-aware, with those perfect rounded corners, it can be so frustrating. You end up either sinking hours into custom drawing code or just settling for something that just doesn't quite fit the vibe.
And that, right there, is exactly the problem B4XDaisyProgress was built to solve. It's a really elegant and powerful solution, so let's dig in and see what it's all about.
So what is it, really? At its heart, B4XDaisyProgress is a custom view. Think of it like a smart little component that you can just drop right into your project. The magic word here is self-contained. That means it handles all the tricky stuff. The drawing, the styling, the resizing, all of it happens inside the component. You don't have to worry about it. You just tell it what you want, and it does all the heavy lifting.
And when I say minimal code, I am not kidding. It's so simple to get started. You just declare the component, initialize it, and then add it to your layout. That's it. In just a couple of lines, you've turned a blank space into a fully functional, great-looking progress bar. Okay, so you've got it on the screen. Now what? How do you actually make it, show the progress? Well, it all boils down to just two super simple properties. So you've got value and MaxValue. Think of MaxValue as the finish line. By default, it's 100, which is perfect for percentages, right? And value is simply how far along you are in the race. The component does the math for you, figuring out the fill percentage just by dividing the value by the max value. It's about as straightforward as it gets. So let's say you're downloading a file or running some kind of process. All you have to do in your code is just update that value property. You set p.value equals 40, and bam, the bar instantly jumps to 40% full. It's super responsive. Okay, getting it to work is one thing, but making it look good, making it actually fit the design of your app, that's a whole other story. And honestly, this is where B4XDaisyProgress really, really shines. Let's talk about styling. Instead of you having to fish around for hex codes, you just use these things called variants. They're basically simple, meaningful names that tie directly into your app's theme. So if you need to show an operation was successful, you just set the variant to success. Need to show a warning? You guessed it, warning. It makes keeping your UI consistent an absolute breeze. And it's the same deal with size. You don't have to guess at random dip values. You get a whole set of standard presets, anything from extra small to extra large. You just set one property, and the component's height snaps to a clean standard size. So easy. All right, we know it's easy to use, but how does it work? This is where things get really cool. Let's pop the hood for a minute and take a look at the clever little bits of engineering that make this thing tick.
The whole thing is actually built from just two simple panels, one layered right on top of the other. You've got the P&L track, that's the background, the path it follows, and then you've got P&L value, which is the colorful part that fills up. And that's it. By just managing those two little panels, the component creates the entire progress effect. So how does it get that perfect pill-shaped look every single time, no matter the size? This is the first bit of magic. It's a simple but absolutely brilliant rule. The corner radius is always half of the component's height. That one line of code guarantees a perfect shape every time. No complex math, just clean, responsive design. Okay, here's another super clever trick. Notice how the background track is always a lighter, semi-transparent version of the main color? Well, instead of making you pick two different colors, the code just programmatically takes the main color and lowers its opacity. It's such an efficient way to make sure the colors always look good together. And finally, the fill itself. How is that width calculated? It's just simple multiplication. Anytime the component size changes, this one line of code recalculates how wide the colored bar should be based on that percentage we talked about. This makes sure the progress is always displayed accurately, even if the layout is resized. So now that we get the properties and we've peeked under the hood at the logic, let's see how this all comes together in the real world. We're going to look at how the actual demo page was built, because it uses all these features. If you look at the source code for that demo page, you can really see how awesome this component is for creating UIs on the fly. It's pretty simple. The developer just creates a few arrays, one for the progress values, one for the color variants, one for the sizes. Then they just loop through them. And inside that loop, for each item, they create a new progress bar, set its properties, and pop it onto the screen. It's just a really clean and powerful way to generate what looks like a complex layout with hardly any code.
Okay, so we've gone pretty deep here. Let's pull back for a second and just summarize the big takeaways. What are the most important things to remember about B4X DaisyProgress?
First off, simplicity. You can get a great-looking, fully functional progress bar going with just a few lines of code. Second, it's super customizable, but in a simple way, using those variant and size properties. Third, the design is just plain smart. It handles all the tricky visual stuff for you, like the corner rounding and the opacity. And finally, it's incredibly efficient, which makes it perfect for those times you need to build dynamic, data-driven UIs inside a loop.
And really, that's what this is all about. This component is a fantastic example of great design, right? It takes something that can be complex and makes it feel simple and totally intuitive. And that kind of leaves you with a bigger question. If we can simplify progress bars this well, what's the next UI headache that's just waiting for someone to build an elegant solution like this one? Definitely something to think about.